Anyway, I think the man of the hour is on the phone, so let's go to the phone lines and see, is this the one, the only, Mr. Don Jamieson?
That's me. I'm hanging on the line. What's up?
How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm just, I'm in my house and I'm being metal as always.
You are being metal as always.
Yeah,
metal you
because
are.
I always want to be in a permanent state of metalosity, in case somebody looks in the window and they see me, I'm not being metal, and they'll say, oh, he's not that metal when he's at home. So I'm just constantly being metal at all times.
You got to live it with the horns up at all times.
Absolutely. As I hold the phone, I hold it with the double horns up.
Which
so
brings me to a question.
Boys?
Well, actually, I have a lot of questions for you. One of them is, and I asked Jim the same question, when you were starting out, did you want to be, when you were a kid, what did you want to be first? Did you want to be a comedian, or did you want to be a metalhead like rock star?
I didn't know, what either of them entailed, but I just knew that I liked both, even from a young age. And I was 9, I got Kiss Destroyer, so I knew I loved that. And then when I was probably 11, I was listening to George Carlin and Cheech and Chong tapes, on my little Radio Shack tape recorder, and I put the little earpiece in, because there's no way my parents would let me ever listen to that stuff. And I didn't even really understand a lot of it, especially all the drug references and stuff, but I knew it was subversive, and that's what I loved about it. So, between the type of music I liked and the type of comedy I liked, I just knew I was on to something. But no, I never saw myself, not at a young age anyway, doing anything with either of those things, and now that's exactly how I make a living.
So which did you end up pursuing first? Was it comedy?
Yeah, the comedy, yeah. Well, actually, in high school, I played guitar. We had a little band in high school and stuff. We used to play at parties and shit, stuff. I don't know if I can curse on this thing, but...
You can curse. Oh, yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we used to play parties and shit, but I kind of peaked out as a guitar player, and I was getting into so much heavy stuff at the time, and I'm like, I'm going to let, the experts... I'm going to leave it to them to do their thing, and I was getting more and more into comedy, and I was like, well, with a band, you got to lug amps and equipment and all that stuff. With comedy, you just got to have your dick jokes in your pocket, so it was a lot easier to be a comedian.
It's funny. I was talking to an old friend of mine today, which me and him, best friends. We've been friends since we were 5 years old, and we played in a band together for 16 years, and he still plays in one or two bands, depending on the day of the week. And he's playing tonight, as a matter of fact, with two bands, and they're playing with Annie Scene down in Delaware. And
cool.
And he's like, dude, you know what? He goes, because I said to him, you know what? I don't miss it. I said, once you start thinking about it, the half hour, 40 minutes you get on stage, but then all the time you got to lug in equipment and all that stuff and just the hassle of it. I said, it just wasn't no fun no more. And we're in our mid-40s. He's like, when am I going to realize it? He goes, I'm 44 years old. He goes, and I still don't realize it. He's like, you're not missing a thing. Don't even think about it. He's going.
Yeah. Well, no, you know what the thing is? When you get to your mid-40s, you can make a choice. You can say, hey, I'm not going to make a living doing this, most likely, especially in this day and age, man, where there's no, the big record companies are gone, those days of getting advances and all, all that stuff's that's long gone. So, but if you say, hey, you know what, this is how I get my rocks off on the weekends. I go out and play, and I get to, I go out and can play with an influential punk band like the Anti-Scene or whatever, and just enjoy it for that. With comedy, when I started doing comedy, dude, it was the same thing. I was like, Florentine was he was already doing comedy a few years before me. He was playing strip clubs and stuff, so I was like, oh man, I'll start doing comedy and, I'll be hanging out with strippers. So that was the original, thought about doing it. It was let me just do it, to pick up chicks, and then you do. And as you start to actually, get a little momentum and get your legs under you, then it becomes a job, man, and you got to make a choice, man. Do I go for it, or, is it just something maybe I'll kick around and do on the weekends? But here it is, man, 16 years later, and it's the fucking best decision I ever made in my life.
That's awesome. Now, you guys used to live together or something, I think he was saying? Like, he moved in with you early on or something?
Who, Florentine?
Yeah.
No. He lived with another comedian, this comedian Jim Norton. Those guys lived together for a while, but
okay.
Jim and I, we just we hooked up because he was a comic, and I was trying to, it's just I was testing the waters a little to see if I wanted to do stand up, and he was sort of my, I was his protege, and like I said, I used to follow him around the gigs and stuff, and and he played all these crappy gigs, but to me it was exciting, oh man, you're playing the strip club or you're playing this place,
right.
Like to me it was just like it was exciting. He was getting on stage, and Jim was good right from the start, so I was like, cool, I want to try this, and that's how it started, and that's how we started collaborating for the last 20 years now, and of course doing that metal show together is awesome.
Now, when you did your first stand-up, what was going through your mind? Like, how nervous were you?
It was way. First of all, I went with Jim, and he goes, listen, I know you want to try doing stand-up. I could get you up on the gig tonight. And I was like, tonight? No. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go for it tonight, if I don't do it tonight, when am I going to do it? You know what I mean? So I said, I want to give it a try. Dude, so it was this bar in South Jersey that it was just a regular bar. There was no stage. There was like 12 people at the bar drinking, like hardcore drinkers. Like, it was like a little redneck town. So, they'd been there since like noon. They didn't even know there was a show. The microphone was plugged like into the wall, and the cord just reached the stage, so you couldn't even move. Like, it was everything that could possibly be wrong with a show. That was my first show. And I got like 3 or 4 mercy laughs, and that's all I needed, man. I got off stage, and I was like, that was the greatest feeling ever, just to get those few mercy laughs. You know what I mean? Like, when you're a kid and, you're having trouble getting laid, and some girl, lays a mercy fuck on you, and you're like, thank you, I needed that. You broke me out of my slump, and that was the same thing, man. I broke my cherry, and I was, off to the races after that.
It really is. I don't think people really understand or get it, and maybe that's why people, when they're still in their 40s and 50s, are still just doing the band thing or comedy or whatever, even if they're not making money at it. Because when you get up on that stage, whether you are doing comedy or music or, I played in the band for 16 years. I was also a pro wrestler for 13 years. So doing that form of entertainment where you're getting to entertain a crowd, there's really nothing like that rush.
Yeah, the performance rush, yeah. For people who don't know it, yes, it's, it's everything they say. It's like a drug. It's addictive. It's all those things, but it's not for everybody. Obviously, you're a born performer. I am as well. And my girlfriend is, could probably be, she's gorgeous. She can sing, but she doesn't crave the spotlight. So you have to be the right personality too. So that's. That's another part of it. But yeah, dude, that rush of giving a good performance, man, it's incredible.
It's good stuff. I mean,
even if it's just 12 rednecks in a bar, it's like,
yeah.
All right, that made me feel good. I got a couple laughs tonight. Cool.
Now, early on, you worked with MTV.
Yeah, man, that's that was another place where I started like getting into comedy and stuff. Man, I was started booking comedians on MTV and hanging out in comedy clubs and just seeing tons and tons. Every week I'd be in comedy clubs watching people. And then on the side I was sort of developing my own stuff, So, but I gave a lot of, big people their first shot, like Jon Stewart and Kevin James and Jay Moore, people like that. So, that was sort of my, my kind of like entrance into that world. And then, like I said, once I finally decided to make the jump, I was tagging along with Florentine, and, we just did it.
Now, somebody who worked with MTV at some point, I mean, basically back then when you worked with them, that was like in the heyday of MTV.
Yeah. For the people listening who don't know me, I'm 47, so I when I worked at MTV, it was in the the late '80s, and when it was still cool. I was working with Martha Quinn Adam Curry and everybody. I even worked a little bit with Ricky Rackman on Headbangers Ball. So, my worlds kind of collided even, back then, because that was something I always wanted to do. Once I established myself, I was able to go out and make a living as a comic, and Florentine and I were doing all kinds of projects together. It was like, all right, now how do we mix the worlds of comedy and metal? But they've been mixed my whole life. But, that metal show is sort of the culmination of all of it. That's like the ultimate, just, wow, what an outcome. I mean, who knew, these three dummies from New Jersey, would end up with this cult hit, on TV that combines, our love for comedy and metal.
Yeah, and it's actually, I don't know, you probably don't even remember, but I met you at the Monster Mania this past go-round.
Yeah, of course, man, yeah, because I remember you said your name was Bay, and I'm like, Bay? What?
Yeah, right. And I said to you then, I said, you guys basically are doing what, I remember doing when I was a kid. Like, me and my buddies would sit around and talk music and have these arguments, who's the better guitarist or who's the better singer, what's the better album, but you're getting to do it not only with, your co-hosts and your friends and your coworkers, but you're getting to do it with the people who made the albums.
Yeah, right, exactly, and of course all the people that love those bands, which is all the fans, So and we're just fans too, and that's always the best compliment that I feel that we get on the show is exactly what you just said. Hey, me and my friends are like you guys. We sit around and we debate the same silly stuff, that's not important to anybody else in the world except metalheads. And we just discuss bands and music, and that's, and that was the whole idea from the start when we did this, is like, let's just make it like we're, three guys just sitting around, just, shooting the shit about music, man.
Did you expect it would become such a hit?
No, not. First of all, when we went in and pitched it, the whole time all we did was break Eddie's balls in the meeting. So when we left, I was like, all right, we ruined that one, but that's what they actually liked about I don't even think they were into doing the show because nobody up there was into heavy metal, but they loved how we were breaking Eddie's balls the whole time. So I think that's how the original idea for the show came about. But yeah, dude, I thought, then they called and said, yeah, we'll do a pilot, and I said, okay, wow, all right, so we'll make $1,000 and we'll meet Lita Ford. It'll be fun, and then we'll never hear from them again. But here we go, it's going into our 13th season, so we've been real lucky.
Now, who's been your favorite guest so far?
It's like, it's the old saying, like, it's trying to decide which of your children is your favorite. But since I don't have any children, I can play favorites. The guys that I like are like, I love Alice Cooper, I love Lemmy, like, those guys want to just come and just sit on the set, for a whole season and not say a word. That'd still be the coolest thing ever to me, But the guys as far as making a TV show that I think are interesting to the viewers are guys who are, or bands who are kind of, who kind of divide the audience a little bit, like a Dave Mustaine or a Phil Anselmo or Marilyn Manson. Those are guys like you love them or hate them, you're always going to watch because
right.
They're basically unfiltered beings. Phil comes on, he's a Neanderthal. He's if he had a woman, he'd grab her by the hair and drag her on the set. And again, you love them or hate them, you always want to hear what these guys have to say because they really they shoot. They're straight shooters, man. They shoot from the hip, man, and they don't hold anything back. So, as far as making a show, I love guests like that, guys who kind of stir up controversy.
I'll tell you what, I think this past season, for myself at least, was probably like the most anticipated because of two people. One that's been silent for years that probably people have been waiting to hear from is Jason Newsted.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one,
of course, is Jakey Lee, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that was a long time coming with Jake. Trying to just break him out of the shell. He's still a little gun shy, but he's got good people around now. So, we hung with him in Vegas. Back we taped a special in Vegas back back in November, and we hung with him a bunch while we were out there. But he didn't quite have it together yet, to come on the show. So we did a little teaser thing with him, but yeah. So we said, when we do the new season, he was like, I should be ready to, come on and have my stuff together by then, and it was cool he did. And yeah, of course, we'd love to have, Jason's been like just one of those anomalies. So you're like, God, is this guy ever going to come back and do some metal? And he came back in a really heavy way with it. So, I love the new stuff that he's doing now. I just think it's killer.
Oh, it's freaking awesome. Yeah, I was saying, and I tell everybody, I think Newstead's the one to bring metal back this year. I really do.
Yeah, really. I mean, a new energy. A new energy and excitement, but in a kind of an old school way, and that's what I love about it.
Now, who would be some of your dream guests that you guys haven't had yet?
Well, it's the obvious ones are, Ozzy, Gene and Paul, from Kiss still haven't been on. I'd love to have, Malcolm and Angus on, anybody from Van Halen at this point, they're just, they're so particular about to impress those guys, they all watch the show, they all know the show, but, they are, the Van Halen brothers are very protective of their world and everything, we'll take Wolfie at this point, like anybody, just, come on and say something, give us a little scoop.
Or how about have Valerie give the scoop from, the old stories or what Wolfie's up to?
Yeah, Valerie, she should definitely come on. That'd be great. I mean, she wrote a whole book about, her and Eddie doing cocaine in the 80s and stuff, man. Those are great stories, man. I'd love to hear that stuff.
She spilled the beans. She just let it out there.
Yeah, and when, again, when you're an old bastard like me, I used to watch one day at a time, so, when you hear these stories years later, she was doing coke, she was partying like crazy, running around the world, and you're like, wow, is that the same chick from One Day at a Time? Because she was so wholesome,
Yeah.
She married this rocker, and she got into the whole rocker lifestyle. So, she'd be a great guest, absolutely, man.
But, and you know what, too? It was kept so quiet, because you always did think, she was this wholesome person, and then you always figure, one day at a time, everybody always says, Mackenzie Phillips, she was crazy, she was a partier, she was, cokehead and all this crazy stuff. But here, Val had this little secret thing going the whole time that nobody knew.
Oh, yeah, man, can you imagine? I mean, there's probably stuff we don't even know, probably pulling trains, all kinds of screwy stuff, man. But yeah, that would she would definitely have. That's actually a really good idea. Hey, none of the guys from Van Halen will come on, so we have Valerie. So boom, there we go.
There you go. Now, a few years back, there was a whole redneck movement. It was the whole in comedy with Jeff Foxworthy and the Cable Guy and all them guys. And it seems like nowadays it's like you were saying, the whole metal scene, it's which I said at the beginning of the show. I said it's the three Jims in you. It's Jim Florentine, Jim Norton, Jim Brewer, and then Don Jamieson. It's like you guys are the comedy world and the metal world, or it's like worlds are colliding, as George Costanza would say.
Yeah, and that's the best thing that could happen. Exactly, man. No, that's good. Look, and I'm friends with all those guys, but even to just be mentioning their company is totally an honor. And definitely throw Brian Posehn in there and Hal Sparks. So there's a few other guys, that cross the barrier too. But look, it's when you're a comic, you got to talk about stuff in your life, So they tell you write about what you know. So once we started doing that metal show, and people knew that as a big part of my personality, it's like, well, I got to write about it now. I hadn't really written too much about it. I wrote about the stuff I knew, about my penis and things like that. But I never really, ventured into that area because, let's face it, the metal audience is a niche audience, so if you're out on you're doing a comedy club on a Friday night, how many metal fans are really going to be there? Now, of course, with the show being successful, we get a lot more of them coming in, so, I definitely incorporate a lot more metal into my act, but also, but even if you're not into metal, it's still you could still come see me on a Friday or Saturday night and, you'll enjoy the show just as much as anybody else.
Now this is something I said to Jim too. A lot of the stuff I said to Jim too, so you have to forgive me. But do you think there would ever be like a tour that you guys would put together, like a comedy and metal tour, like having you guys do set? And I'm saying with other guys, like with maybe Brewer or Norton or something, where you guys do like sets in between as the bands are setting up and have bands playing, have Eddie host it, and do like a tour like that.
And we've definitely talked about it and stuff, but that's coordinating a whole thing through VH1 Classic or whatever. I mean, we could probably get us all to go out on our own, but then we got to find a promoter, and it's on the surface it seems like a natural fit, but it's a bit of a complicated thing to put a tour together. But we've done stuff like that, all of us individually over the years, and then me and Florentine and Brewer all did the first Orion Fest with Metallica. So
right.
Obviously that was huge for all of us. To go up on stage, basically opening for Metallica and doing comedy, and that was.
And didn't you have Lars announce you and introduce you?
Yeah, man. It was the craziest thing, man. Lars comes down on his golf cart, and he's like, "I'm going to bring you on stage, man." I'm like, "Wow, really?" Holy shit, man, this is unbelievable, and the stage we were at was packed. There was probably about 4,000 metalheads, standing there waiting, and I was the first one up, and I was like, man, this is super intense, and I had to go up and do 30 minutes of comedy. People are standing there. It's 4:00 in the afternoon. And what was crazy about the whole this is show business in a nutshell. So that was a Saturday that I did that. Lars Ulrich introduces me. I do a comedy set. It was the best show in my entire life. And then the following Thursday, I played a pizza place. No exaggeration. I literally played a pizza place. So I went from Lars introducing me to some guy named Vinny making garlic knots behind me, 5 days later. And, that's the way it goes. You're on top of the world one day, and, you're trying not to back into a hot oven the next.
Yeah, it's crazy how the stuff like that happens. I mean, and it's the same in the music business, or one day you're playing the stage with Metallica, and the next day you're back in the bar with 10 people, and it's the 10 local drunks.
Yeah, but you know what? If you're a performer and you're into what you're doing, which I am, I honestly gave the same show to the 40 people that were at the pizza place that I gave to the 4,000 that were at Orion Fest. I still give the same energy because, hey, they paid to get in, they paid to see a show, so I'm going to give it to them, man. So, regardless of the venue, it's just you got to put it out there, even if it's just for you, You can't just. I don't like to call anything in, man. If I take a gig, I'm gonna. You book me for a gig, man. I'm gonna give you 100%. If I go down in flames, I'm going down fighting.
Now, at this point in your career, if you were given the choice, say you only can do one now for the rest of your career, would you choose stand-up or being able to host that metal show for the rest of your life?
Well, I mean, I don't know how. Hopefully, we'll keep doing that metal show for a while. I mean, I would love to keep doing it. I mean, to do it till I have to do it till I'm 90, man. When we have to change the name of it to that metal hip, but. But I think the stand-up, is the true answer because, you can do stand-up until, that you basically, fall over. It does not, stand-up doesn't have a sort of a shelf life. So, if I'm looking for something, to keep me going down the road, I'd probably, stick with the stand-up. But, again, it's, it's great to do the TV work, but and this has been a surprise that it's gone this long. So who knows, man? We've got a 13th season coming up, and there's going to be a lot of surprises on that one too. So I'm looking forward to continuing to do both.
Did you guys start filming the new season yet, or?
No, and there's some really cool. I can't even even hint at anything right now, but I just got some great news about the show going forward. That's going to be great, not only for us, but especially for the fans. So I'm really excited.
Nice.
And when I can share the information, I will call you guys back.
Very good. I like that idea. Now,
but I promise it'll be cool for everybody.
Very cool. Now, something I didn't know until Jim had told us that you have a band, Gunfire and Sodomy. Yes,
it's acoustic death metal. It's a serial killer's gonna have a favorite band too.
Now I'm looking you guys up, and yeah, I'm like, I'm like, all right, this is pretty crazy. And was there like a lot of blood involved or something?
There's always a lot of blood. Yeah, tons of blood. We wear ski masks and we write really offensive, crazy, over-the-top songs, and we have stage names because a lot of the guys in the band have kids, and they don't want them taken away from them. So that's why we have to disguise ourselves and use different names. So I can't even 100% confirm that I'm in the band. But if you go to a Gunfire and Sodomy show, you'll see me probably lurking around somewhere.
So is it reminiscent of old G.G. Allin stuff at all?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, like Dave Mustaine said, it reminded him of the Mentors, and in a sense, it kind of did. It is Mentor-esque, but honestly, I wasn't never a huge Mentors fan. I always got a chuckle out of what they did, but yeah, it's definitely more in the vein of G.G. Allin. But the twist is it's acoustic. We call it acoustic death metal, which is so weird to have these two screaming voices over an acoustic guitar and pounding drums, and we actually do a cover of G.G. Allin when we play live. So so a lot of the antics and stuff are based on him, because we all have different influences in the band: metal, punk, hardcore and stuff. So we kind of combine them all. But we wanted to do something different, like I said, without having to carry a lot of equipment. I'm still to this day I don't want to lug anything.
Yeah, the band I played in for 16 years, we were called the Dead Gerber Babies. And we modeled ourselves after G.G. Allin.
Wow, cool.
We ended up getting banned from every club in Philly, and we were getting a nice following. This was in the mid-'90s. So we were like, all right, we're really going to freak people out. We did a whole G.G. Allin set one time. A friggin' riot broke out. And the funny thing is, we have it on videotape. And
wow.
Our singer, he would get balls-ass naked, completely fill the blood, barbed wire baseball bats swinging, beer bottles throwing, just no feces anywhere. So thank God for that.
Yeah, we don't do. We draw the line there too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Although at the last gig, I left a pretty nasty mess in the men's room, but I didn't do it on the stage. So
We actually ended up hiring the Murder Junkies and playing a show with them one time too.
Oh, that's great. I just saw them a few months ago. It was the most surreal show I've ever seen. They played for a half hour. The drummer did a solo for 15 minutes, and then he got off the stage. He got up, came around the drum set and stuck the drumsticks up his ass, and that was the end of the show.
That's Dino. Yeah, he had a hunter's bright orange hunter cap on, like he would expect Charlie Brown to wear or something, and that's all he wore. And his goatee was dyed the same color as his fluorescent orange hat. And that's all he wore. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good old Dino.
I love that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was it. Well, and look, that's one way to end the show for sure. I mean, with a bad 15-minute drum solo and drumsticks up your ass. And then he was nice enough to throw them out to the crowd, which nobody took advantage of. Yeah.
Now you did.
But all good.
Are you still touring, or you've done touring with Dice?
Yeah. Well, I've been opening for Dice for about 8 years now. So, that's been crazy because Dice is one of my comedy idols. So that's another crazy thing that's happened in my life and my career, which is, me and Florentina Norton, we're all humongous and still are humongous Dice fans, and the two gyms met Dice in L.A. probably about 10 years ago. And for whatever reason, he just took a liking to them, and Norton started opening for him. And then, after a few years, Norton, his career started taking off, so he was doing less gigs with Dice, and then Florentine started filling in on some of the dates. And then, when I met Dice at the Garden in, 2000, Florentine introduced me to him, and he's like, "You're a comic too? How many comics are you gonna bring around?" And I go, "Don't worry, Dice." I go, once Florentine can't do gigs, I'll be the one opening for you. So, sure enough, about 4 years later, man, I got my shot, man, and I've been working with him ever since. So,
that's awesome. Yeah, I got to see him a couple of years ago. He was in Philly, but it was him and is her name Eileen Kerrigan?
Oh yeah, Eleanor. Yep, Eleanor. His old fiance. Yeah.
And she's friggin', she's hysterical. She's balls to the wall.
Well, they used to go out, and they used to have these classic fights because she's a tough Philly chick, he's a tough guy from Brooklyn, so they would just have these classic blowout arguments all the time. Because sometimes the three of us went on the road together, and it would be like,
oh wow.
This, forget the show. The show, people are missing the best show of all. What's going on backstage right now?
Well, didn't he have a reality show with her as well at one point or something too?
Yeah, he did a reality show with VH1 for a little bit. I was actually on a couple episodes because I had been on the road with him at the time. But they just didn't, for whatever reason. I think they did 6 episodes and then that was it. But.
Right.
He's in a Woody Allen film now, and he's doing great. I'm really, happy for him and stuff. So, I watched his kids grow up. Was to his son's bar mitzvah. I've been to his house a million times. He's become a friend. It's nice. Totally surreal for me, man. Again, for a kid who used to, put on those early Dice albums and be like, wow, this guy's like a rock star as a comic,
right.
and for him to become one of my best buds is crazy.
And how about Lisa Lampanelli? You write jokes for her, help her write jokes?
Yeah. I've been collaborating with Lisa on a lot of stuff over the last probably 5 or 6 years. It started with the roast, all the roasts and stuff she used to do, and she doesn't really do the roast that much anymore. So, we've worked on show treatments and, I've, helped her punch up scripts for things, punch up a thing for Tonight's Show or just, articles that she's done. And, it's been great, man. She's another one, she's just relentless. And the good thing about writing for her is, you don't have to think like a chick, you just think of the rudest, nastiest stuff you can, and
she'll put it out there.
Yeah.
See, that's what you guys should do, is do a roast of Eddie.
That's it. Yeah, well, we did a roast of Florentine a couple of years ago at this comedy club in New York. But yeah, Trunk is overdue to get roasted. Although he kind of gets, he takes a beating, every week on TV. So we might have to, cut him a break.
Nah, why would you do that?
Yeah, you're right. Let's roast him.
All right, so everybody can go to DonJamieson.com to get information on Don, his upcoming gigs. You're at Point Pleasant, New Jersey at Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club next week on the 26th.
Yeah, that'll be my birthday show. It's the day before my birthday, so come on down and we'll have a little birthday celebration, and I'll tell some dirty jokes, and it'll be a fun night. And yeah, go to my website, man. It's Minutes of Fun.
Minutes of Fun. Also, you can follow him on Twitter at Real Don Jamieson, and also go to his Facebook page and like him on Facebook. And don't forget That Metal Show and the new season coming not soon enough on VH1 Classic.
Well put. I agree 100%. But yeah, and for anybody who's been living under a rock for the past 10 years, I probably still have a MySpace page out there, so you can find me there too.
Isn't it crazy how that thing just died?
Collapsed.
It's amazing.
I love that. Facebook's next, okay? Let me tell you something. that Facebook is next, because Facebook is just an obituary now. Every time they log on the homepage, my grandmother's sister's in the hospital, my mom's cat died, I had to put my grandfather to sleep. Shut up.
Facebook is going to become like just cats, because that's all people do is post cat pictures now.
But it's like a morgue now, man. It's so depressing to go on Facebook. Like, I go on to update my pages. I get on and off there in like 3 minutes, man. I don't even look at emails, nothing, man. It's just everybody's got an issue. Oh, my grandmother's sister's boyfriend got herpes. Can you give some money? Please. I don't got time for that. Come down to Uncle Vinny's, but use protection, please.
There you go. Hey, real quick, can you cut an ID for me so I can cut it up and save it for later?
Yeah, sure, man.
This is Don Jamieson, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Don Jamieson, comedian, That Metal Show, host, co-host, whatever. And you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
Solid. You are the freaking man.
No, thank you for having me. I'm glad that we, I remember meeting you, and I was hoping we would get this set up, and we did, so that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. It was a lot of fun.
I love when things work out like that.
Yeah, it did, because then, you emailed Meredith, and the ball got rolling, and here you are, and Jim was on a couple of weeks ago, and now we got to get Eddie on, and then you guys got to give us the big announcement when you're ready.
Yeah, I'd be very happy to, and I'll pass along the good words to Ed as well, because his book's coming out, I think, next week. So,
oh, really?
If you don't mind, I'll pass along your info.
Absolutely. And
oh, good. Okay.
How about with Kiss with another book? How many more books of them bitching about Ace and Peter do we need?
I haven't read it yet, so I don't know. I'm sure all that stuff's in there. Have you read it?
I haven't read it. I haven't gotten it yet. I mean, I'm a huge Kiss fan. I love Kiss. But the only snippet I saw that somebody put out there the other day was Gene came flat out and said that something along the line is, how many chances in life do people need to get when Peter and Ace have been in and out of the band 3 times each? They're just complete alcoholic losers.
Well, look, you can look at this. There's a couple ways to look at it. Number one, is this on the air, by the way? Well, yes, it doesn't matter. Here's the deal. Yes, right now, look, now these guys are in their 60s, and so, can Peter probably go out and play World Tour? No. I mean, the guys in the 60s. Could Ace? No. I mean, yes, their lifestyles have taken a toll on them, but, Kiss, the original 4, all those years. Come on, man. That was, rock stars lead a rock star life. I mean, I'm sorry, rock stars today are so sanitized. Everybody. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna have a sip of tea before I go on stage tonight. That's what I loved about Ace and Peter, man. They lived the lifestyle. They were true rock stars. That's how Marilyn Manson is now, man. The guy's, whether you like him or hate him, he lives the rock star life. There's not a lot of those guys left, man. Everyone's either rehabbed up, or, these bands that are coming up now are all just, they're teetotalers. And that's cool. But, I'm old school, man. I like hearing about stories of excess. I just read Al Jorgensen's book. Holy shit, that guy was out of his mind shooting heroin for 30 years, man. Who knew?
Wow.
He made Motley Crue look like the friggin' Osmonds. So, I love, reading stuff like that. Now, of course, you don't want these guys to die and go away, but stuff happens over the years. And Gene and Paul, they're like the Van Halen brothers. They rule Kiss, the Kiss world with an iron fist. So, that's up to them if they want them in or out of the band. But, at this point, look, these guys, we're not talking about Kiss in 1978. We're talking about Kiss now, and,
right.
When you're in your 60s, even if you're in top shape, it's hard enough to tour the world. So, look, I don't hold a grudge about them putting other guys in makeup, all that stuff. Life is too short, fathers are bringing their kids to see Kiss now, and that's all cool, man. If Ace plays, I won't go see Kiss anymore, but, if Ace plays at a club, yeah, I'm going to go out and have a good time, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather go see, I was thinking about this today, I'd rather go see Ace play in a club as Ace than watch him with Kiss.
Yeah, at this point, absolutely. Ace, look, he had his years with Kiss. He's not in anymore. For Ace, absolutely the best thing that ever happened to him is he's been sober for the last 5 years. So, he definitely deserves credit for that. He's gotten his career back on track. He put out an unbelievable album in 2010 called Anomaly. So, that's all good stuff, man. And, Peter's kept a lower profile. I just started reading his book, so, I'm interested to get into that a little bit. And, I saw him at the backstage at Rob Zombie, at the Mayhem Fest in Jersey, man. It was cool, talking to him for a little while. And, he just lives a more low-key life. But, another guy who's, he's lived through it, luckily, and he's still with us, and he's clean and sober, and he's got a great wife, and, he's got a happy life, so that's cool.
Do you think, now, this goes back to you working at MTV, do you think MTV is at fault at the way the music business is changed like that, where back in the day you had all that in front of you and had the videos, and there was the image of being the rock star and played up to excess, where now the M in MTV is really not there. You don't see that, and it's caused the music scene to change?
Well, I mean, look, what happened was, you had all the metal bands that were huge in the late 80s. Yes, it showed all the excess and all that, and that was the fantasy. And then, the times changed with music, and, the grunge thing came along, and, MTV embraced that. So, that definitely... that definitely took over, instead of, guys with 9 chicks on limo, it was, guys with flannels, looking at the shoes. So, but, the music changed. And then after that, then reality shows came, and then there was boy bands, and TRL and all that stuff. And now, you couldn't find a music video on MTV, I don't think. I mean, I haven't stopped on it in years, but, the days I was there were the coolest days, man. I really loved, and I was a huge Headbangers Ball fan and all that stuff. So, it's, times change, and some of the bands made it through and some didn't, just like the grunge. A lot of the grunge bands are gone too, just the bands that did it really well, like Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, those guys survived it because, now they don't call them grunge bands. Now they're just rock bands. So. Right. Without the label, which they didn't, whenever you label something, too, that's always dangerous, when you put something in a category, and you got to find a place for it. And now just all these bands, coexist together, but now they're just all rock bands.
This is true. All right, well,
so there
you go, everybody. Mr. Don Jamieson, comedian extraordinaire, host of VH1's That Metal Show. Go to donjamieson.com for all your info. Get all his dates. Next week, wish him happy birthday, Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Follow him on Facebook. Like him on Facebook. Follow him on Twitter. Just don't send him a message on Facebook. He'll never answer you.
Unless you're really nice and you don't complain about having a dead goldfish or something.
There you go. Don, right, again, man. Thanks so much, man. Take care, and hope to see you soon.
All right, be good, bro.
Take care. All right, everybody. Don Jamieson, how about that? He's just one of them guys that you can sit and talk to for hours, whether it's music, comedy, and he's just got a hell of a career and probably tons of stories to really unload on.
Yeah,
so, Frank,
it's great to hear his take on, the Kiss stuff. It's a guy who's been around and knows the business, so it's kind of good to hear his opinion on it.
Yeah, and the one thing that sucks, and we had talked to Jim about it a few weeks ago with That Metal Show, and the one thing I was wondering was, and I felt like maybe they taped a lot of interview footage with these guys when they're on there. When they're on the show, they're on there for 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, because it's only an hour show. So I wondered, was there a lot of interview footage that was cut out? But there's really not. So I thought it would be cool if there was, you know what I mean? Like where we get to sit and talk to, like we just talked to Don for 45 minutes, where I thought maybe they get to talk to these guys for a half hour and they cut it down to 15 minutes, you know what I mean? But that's just not the case.
Yeah, you're expecting all these great, like, outtakes, and they're not there.